You keep asking me for direction, but do you walk like someone who's already been chosen? You pray for clarity, but still carry yourself like you're disposable. You wonder why doors don't open, yet your posture whispers, "I'm not worthy to enter." You've been marked, anointed, set apart, but you walk like a beggar in your own kingdom. How can the world recognize a chosen one when even you don't? Listen to me, you don't need more signs. You are the sign. Walking as the chosen doesn't mean you never doubt. It means you don't bow to it. It doesn't mean you feel powerful every day. It means you move forward anyway, knowing I've gone before you. It doesn't mean you never hear the old voices again. It means you've learned to stop believing them. Let me ask you something deeply psychological. Have you ever wondered why you sabotage your blessings? It's called cognitive dissonance. When the truth of your calling collides with the lies you've believed about yourself, your nervous system feels threatened. You're not just fighting spiritual warfare, you're fighting the discomfort of unfamiliar worthiness. Blessings feel unsafe when your identity has been built on rejection. So you push them away, not because you're ungrateful, but because somewhere inside, a broken prophecy still says, "This is too good to last." But I'm healing that now. That broken prophecy is not the final word. In Jungian terms, this is the moment when the ego must yield to the self, the larger divine image within you. The ego clings to old labels, rejected, abandoned, failure. But the self knows the truth, chosen, beloved, purposed. When your conscious mind aligns with the truth of who I created you to be, your life becomes a living prophecy of restoration. This shift doesn't begin in your circumstances. It begins in how you see yourself in the mirror of my word. You were never meant to beg for scraps when I've set a table before you. You were never meant to shrink back in shame when I've crowned you with glory. You were never meant to wander aimlessly when I've mapped out your destiny from the beginning. Let's take this deeper, spiritually and scientifically. When you walk in the authority of being chosen, your brain literally begins to rewire. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and form new neural pathways, responds to your inner narrative. If you continue to rehearse fear, your mind will build highways of anxiety. But if you consistently affirm truth, your brain will construct new pathways of boldness, clarity, and purpose. You are not just believing differently, you are becoming different. And I, the author of your story, rejoice every time you take a step away from the old plot and toward the prophetic one. I didn't call you out of slavery just to wander in the wilderness. I called you to occupy the promise. So I ask you now, will you stop dressing like your past and start walking like your future? Your calling has a wardrobe. Confidence is not pride, it's alignment. Boldness is not arrogance, it's obedience. When you finally accept that you've been chosen, your energy changes. You stop chasing, you start attracting, you stop explaining yourself, you start embodying what I've declared over you. You walk into rooms and atmospheres shift. You speak and chains break. You show up and the atmosphere gets redefined. Why? Because you're not speaking from your old identity. You're speaking from your inheritance. In Jungian psychology, this is the transition from persona to authentic self. The false self you constructed to survive, polite, performative, people-pleasing, must die. Only then can the real you, the divine image-bearer, emerge. The one I always saw. The one the world has been waiting for. And here's the truth. The moment you stop playing small is the moment heaven starts echoing louder through you. Because when you rise, others remember they were born to rise too. So let's go practical. What does it actually look like to walk as if you are chosen? You stop asking for permission to be yourself. You stop apologizing for your anointing. You take up space, not to dominate, but to reflect divine presence. You invest in your growth, not from insecurity, but from responsibility to the gift I gave you. You steward your vision with sacred intentionality, because purpose is not passive, it's prophetic. You discern who has access to you, not out of pride, but out of clarity. You speak when others are silent, not to prove a point, but to shift the atmosphere with truth. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You realize that you are the moment I'm sending into dark places. Let me tell you something uncomfortable, freeing. You will lose people when you start walking like you're chosen. Not everyone will celebrate the prophecy you're stepping into. Some only loved the version of you that didn't believe in yourself. Others only stayed because your silence served their control. But when you rise, it reveals who was aligned with your wounds and who's aligned with your destiny. Do not mourn those who leave. Bless them and walk forward, because every time you obey me, you are co-authoring the next chapter of your divine story. And I am building a generation of chosen ones who don't just talk faith, they walk it, live it, embody it. So now I ask you, if I've chosen you, anointed you, equipped you, and walked with you this far, what exactly are you still waiting for? In the next block, we'll break the myth of perfection and confront the fear of starting imperfectly. Because chosen ones are not called to be flawless, they're called to be faithful. Are you ready for that truth? Let's walk into it together. Ready for block 9? You've been waiting for the perfect moment, but what if perfection is the very lie holding your destiny hostage? This is how the curse works. It disguises itself as preparation, as self-improvement, even as humility. But behind the curtain, it's just fear. Fear of being exposed. Fear of being seen in process, fear of failure. So you stay stuck, endlessly getting ready, polishing the gift I already told you was ready. Child, listen closely. If the enemy can't destroy your calling, he will delay it until you doubt it's real. He whispers, "You're not ready. You need more time. You need to fix this. Wait until it's perfect." But I, your God, never demanded perfection. I demand movement. In my kingdom, it is obedience, not perfection, that activates power. Think of Moses. He stuttered, he argued. He didn't feel worthy, but he moved. Think of David. He was young, messy, flawed, but he moved. Think of Mary. She risked shame, misunderstanding, rejection, but she said yes. These weren't perfect people. These were obedient hearts, and through their obedience I changed the course of history. Why do you still believe that your flaws disqualify you when I've already factored them into your calling? In Jungian psychology, this fear of being seen as imperfect stems from the shadow, the unconscious parts of yourself you've rejected or suppressed, the parts you're ashamed of, the parts you pretend don't exist. But here's the paradox. The more you deny your shadow, the more control it has over you. Perfectionism isn't about high standards. It's about shame avoidance. It's a subconscious strategy to avoid rejection. Because some part of you believes, if I can just be perfect, I'll finally be safe. I'll be loved. I'll be worthy. But that's a lie. Safety doesn't come from performance. It comes from knowing who you are in me. You're not called to perform. You're called to prophesy. That means you're going to speak things before they're finished. You're going to build while you're still healing. You're going to lead while you still feel uncertain. You're going to rise while some pieces are still falling into place. Because your obedience is what unlocks provision. Your movement is what releases miracles. Your yes is what multiplies. When you act in faith, the spiritual realm reacts in motion. Let me show you something powerful. Neuroscience agrees. In studies of behavioral activation, researchers have found that the act of starting, even imperfectly, actually changes the brain's chemistry. Momentum creates clarity. Action quiets anxiety. Every time you act despite fear, you're rewiring your brain to trust your own authority. You don't wait to feel confident. Confidence comes because you moved. That's why faith without works is dead. Not because works save you, but because without action, faith stagnates. Without movement, the prophecy stays dormant. Without your voice, heaven's decree echoes in vain. You are the vessel through which the invisible becomes visible. You're not supposed to have it all figured out. That's not faith. That's control. Faith is moving while it's still messy. It's launching while you're still learning. It's saying yes when everything in your body is shaking. That's the kind of obedience that pleases me. That's the kind of faith that changes the world. Let me tell you something sacred. You were never meant to be flawless. You were meant to be faithful. You were never expected to be sinless. You were expected to be surrendered. You were never called because you were perfect. You were called because you were willing. This is the death of the perfection prophecy and the birth of the obedience prophecy. I don't want your polish. I want your participation. The curse of the false prophecy says you have to prove yourself first. But my truth says you've already been chosen. Now walk like it. Let go of the pressure to present a finished product. I work through the raw, the real, the becoming. My power is made perfect not in your perfection, but in your weakness. And every step you take while still feeling unqualified, that's warfare. That's prophecy in motion. That's shadow integration, healing and transformation all at once. In Jung's language, when you integrate the shadow, you don't just heal, you expand. You become whole. And whole people are unstoppable, because they don't wait for perfection, they walk in presence. So here's my command. Stop waiting. Start moving. Write the book, even if it's messy. Start the project, even if you feel unprepared. Speak the truth, even if your voice shakes. Heal publicly, even if it's uncomfortable, because your courage gives others permission to stop pretending and start becoming. The world doesn't need another curated version of you. It needs the real you, the raw you, the redeemed you, the you that's still becoming but refuses to stay silent. Let me ask you now, if I already declared you chosen and the only thing holding you back is fear of imperfection, what exactly are you protecting by staying small? In the next block, we'll confront the spiritual cost of delaying obedience and how postponing your yes reshapes timelines not just for you but for generations. Are you ready to break the illusion that waiting keeps you safe? Let's expose that lie together. Shall I continue with block 10?